All right, for this assignment, I need you to open up assignment number 2. It's called How High Is It? I want you to open the slideshow. You're going to see some videos in there. Don't click on those. Those are for when you're stuck or you need to know what's next. So now that you open assignment number 2, we're going to talk about it. Now, the How High Is It activity is a model. You're making a model of the atmosphere and all 5 of its layers. So for this, you're going to have a total of 5 steps that you have to go through. The first 2 you kind of do together, and I'm going to show you how to do those now. Label all the layers of the atmosphere. Then what you're going to do is you're going to use color to label each layer. So let's actually take a second to look at the layers because this slideshow can be a bit confusing. So I'm going to escape out and I'm going to show you guys all the slides. Now if you go down, you're going to notice there's these slides that kind of just have numbers on them, like for example 990 kilometers. If you go all the way down to the very bottom, there will be one that says sea level. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete these out because these were examples I did with other classes, and I'm going to show you how to actually do all of this so that way when you do this activity, you're not lost. So let's start by talking about how to label the layers. So let's label the layers, and the first layer that you'll see in the table is the troposphere. Now it says the range of the troposphere is from 0 to 20 kilometers, and we're going to make it the darkest blue. So let's do that. We're going to scroll down to the troposphere, which it says 0, and you're going to find there isn't a 0, but there is a sea level, and then it goes up to 10 and to 20. Now the table said 0 to 20 kilometers. So I'm going to click and highlight up to 20. Now notice how I didn't go past 20, I stopped at 20. That's because the troposphere does not go past 20 kilometers. And now I need to change the color of it to label it darkest blue. So I find blue, and down here, this is the darkest blue, dark blue 3. And I'm gonna click on it, and it's going to turn it to a dark blue. Now I have the troposphere, and it's a different color than all the other areas on the page. Now I have to label it. So now I'm going to label it by clicking on a shape. I'm going to use a square. You can use a circle, a star, any shape that you want to use, but for me I'm going to use a square. And once I put it in there, it's going to be white, so it kind of blends through the actual dark blue that I just put in. For me, I'm going to change the font just because I think Arial is kind of boring. I like Railway. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger by changing the font size to 18. And then I'm going to type the name Troposphere. Troposphere. And you don't have to do this, but for me, I like to make the box small enough so that way it holds the word, it doesn't look gigantic. And there, I've done step 1 for the troposphere. I changed the color of it and I labeled it. Let's go ahead and do the stratosphere. Now you can do this with me. If the sub wants to stop the video, she can stop the video and kind of walk you through the steps just like I did. But for me, I'm going to continue on to the stratosphere, which means I have to go back to this table. So the stratosphere is 20 to 50 kilometers, and it's going to be a darker blue, but not the darkest blue. So I'm going to do 20 to 50 kilometers and try to find it. So I go back down to that slide, and I find the troposphere, and from 20 to 50, but I don't go past 50, I stop at 50, is going to be my stratosphere. I'm going to go back up to the bucket, and I'm going to change it not to the darkest blue, but to the next one up, dark blue 2. And now, it's a dark blue 2. You'll see the layers are a different color, which is allowing me to make a model that shows people the different layers of the atmosphere. And the last thing I have to do for the stratosphere is I have to label it. So this time I'm going to label it with a circle. You can switch up the shapes just to make it a bit more interesting. And like I said, I'm doing this as a circle. I'm going to keep the font Railway. I'm going to go up to size 18 just so it's big enough. And then I'm going to type in stratosphere. Now I've labeled my stratosphere and my troposphere. Now I'm going to continue doing that for the next few ones. Now you're going to notice that the mesosphere is still going to be on this page, but the thermosphere is huge. I mean, look at the table and the size of the thermosphere. The thermosphere says it goes from 80 all the way up to 500. So what that means is when I get down in these slides and I start at 80, I'm going to make 80 blue, 90 the same blue, and I'm going to make all of these the same blue because they're part of the thermosphere. I'm going to label this page thermosphere. I'm going to make all of these the same blue and label them thermosphere. I'm going to do the same for this page, and I'm going to do the same for this page. But then I'm going to stop because the very next slide shows 500, and that's where the thermosphere stops. You're going to notice the same thing's going to happen for the exosphere. You're going to have several of these slides that are kind of going up in different colors, and they're going to fill in several slides because the layers are so thick. Now I'm going to stop a moment. I'm going to show you a student example of the colors, so that way you can see exactly what I mean. What she's done a really great job here. Now she's done, and you can notice that her first 4 layers are labeled here, but then what I mentioned before was with the thermosphere, how it went to 80 to 90, and then she had to start coloring all of these other slides the same color, and notice how she labeled each one thermosphere. Once she left the thermosphere, then she went into the exosphere and changed the color and continued to label those exosphere. Now some of you are noticing, ooh, there's a satellite here. When do I do that? Well, that's actually our next step. So let me show you how and place it in its correct layer. So this table right here has names of different aircrafts. For example, this first one says blended wing body, and that's 12 kilometers high. So this side over here where you see all the numbers, that's how high up each of the aircrafts go, which kind of comes back to the name of the activity. How high is it? And that's what we're trying to figure out, is how high up are these different aircrafts in our atmosphere. So these are all the aircrafts on the next slide. You're going to notice all of them here, and the first one I'm going to look at is that blended wing body that I just mentioned. I'm going to show you how to take the blended wing body and put it at the correct altitude. Now if I look back at the table, it said it was 12 kilometers. So I'm going to go to the blended wing body, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to press Control C. You can also press Control X to cut it. For me, I'm going to copy it just in case I mess up. And then I'm going to go down to where I think 12 kilometers is. You see, these are all broken apart by tens, so I'm going to have to kind of put a close estimate where 12 is. And I know it's in the troposphere, so I'm going to press Control V now that I'm in this slide. I'll move the blended wing body down to just a little bit above 10 kilometers, and I'm going to make it smaller. That way, by making it smaller, I can actually move it up and down a little better. And I'm going to put the blended wing body right here at what I believe is about 12 kilometers. It's going to be really next to impossible to make it exact, so get as close as you can. And that's how you move the aircraft. You're going to continue doing that for the remainder of the remainder of the aircrafts. Now there's one I want to show you, or actually a couple that I want to show you that can actually cause some confusion. For example, the GOES aircraft, GOES. It says it's at 36,000 kilometers. That's actually beyond the exosphere. So when you look here, the exosphere, I have it stopping at 990 kilometers. So when it comes time to actually do the GOES spacecraft, first I'm going to find it on the page, which it's right here. I'm going to press Control C, and instead of creating a bunch of new slides, I'm just going to press Control V on the last one of the exosphere and just move the GOES spacecraft to the very top. Yes, I know it's not 36,000 kilometers, but we're just going to say that this actually goes beyond the exosphere, and you'll get it correct as long as you put some of those ones that are beyond 990 kilometers past the top of the exosphere. So that's our third step, and that's actually the goal that I have set for you today. Is my goal is to get you to the third step. If you happen to make it to the fourth or the fifth step, make sure you watch the YouTube video that's posted inside of assignment number 2, How High Is It? Because those are made strictly for students that have actually gotten steps 1, 2, and 3 done. So if the sub happens to see you watching the video for number 4 and number 5, please show the sub that you actually have done steps 1, 2, and 3. Not just for one aircraft, but for all the aircraft. And that you've also done it for all of the layers as far as their colors and their labels. So good luck, and enjoy finding out how high things actually go.